Hi, I'm Maria Theoharis of Velo Sews on social media. Thanks for coming back to Sew Organised Style podcast after I took a mini break this year. When I refer to Alexis, what's your Instagram name?
It's where we're going. The rebrand has been an interesting thing. But
Okay,
yeah, it's where we're going. Five Run Claw Studios gone for the most part. Yeah.
that's Alexis Bailey, who I recorded this episode with in June. Later in this recording, Alexis talks about the new patterns that she's going to launch on her new rebranded website called Wearweregoing. As of today, there are 11 PDF patterns on her rebranded website, again called Wearweregoing. Grab a cuppa and listen to Alexis now. Alexis, thank you for coming onto the podcast for Sober 50 today.
Hi, thanks for having me, Maria.
My pleasure. Just so that our viewers understand, I'm in Sydney. Alexis, where are you?
I'm in Dallas, Texas, USA.
Awesome. So you're just at the cusp of summer.
Yeah, but here summer starts like in February. It's pretty brutal.
No need to wear woolens.
No, I think we get like between maybe December and like mid-February,
Mhm.
like there's a little bit of winter and ice. This year we actually had snow for 2 days, and then it's just spring for like a month, and then it goes to summer. It's pretty bad.
Tell me,
Yeah.
where can we find you online?
My website is wearweregoing.myshopify.com, and my username on Instagram is also where we're going. You can also find me on Patreon at where we're going. I think those, oh, and Pinterest. I'm also on Pinterest. Those are all the social media platforms I have and have the mental bandwidth for.
It sounds like you're hardworking both online and offline.
Maybe, kind of.
Where we're going, let's talk about Alexis. What's your sewing journey? Where did you start?
When I was 9, I don't know why I wanted to, but I saw my aunt. My aunt used to sew men's suits. So she worked for a company called Hanging with Mr. Cooper, and it was in Texas, here actually. We didn't live here at the time. I lived in Kansas, but she would come visit and everything. And she taught me how to sew my own clothes. I got this really old sewing machine from somebody in my community worship place. It was like a super, super heavy old white brand sewing machine. She taught me how to make some pants. We had an older family friend who helped me from there. I learned how to serge and finish my garments and everything. And yeah, I just kept going, I guess, as a youth and just played around and stuff.
I think the description of the sewing machine, your very first one, would have been perfect for sewing denim and heavy fabrics.
Yeah, and I don't think like I knew that at the time, but it was definitely heavy duty. It was
Yeah.
heavy, it was all metal. It wasn't playing around. Like, and I as I look back, I'm like, man, that was my first sewing machine. Like that's what I still have it. I gave it to my sister. I gave it to her, so she has it now. But like I think it's wild that that's the first machine I learned from.
Oh, excellent. What I wanted to find out was when I first contacted you, you weren't called Where We're Going, and there's been a
Yeah.
change. Can you talk me through that?
Wow.
Just a
Um,
high level, don't get too deep.
yeah, no. I'm not. I'm just like sometimes I have ADHD. Sometimes I make changes
Okay.
and like I later on like know how profound they were, but at the beginning I'm like, I'm just gonna change my name, but there's a whole reason behind it that I just don't realize at the time. I spent a lot of time in the past few years focused on hand sewing stuff, and at one point I was like, I was selling fabric. It felt like I was kind of in a box,
Mhm.
and like markets changed, the economy has changed, everything's restructured. I realized that a lot of what I was doing was focused on product and selling and not enough about what the purpose of what I was doing was.
Yeah.
And, my main focus is slow fashion, slow sewing, being very intentional and meditative in your sewing practice and
Mm.
everything. And I just I wanted to get less away from the box of sewing needle and thread and more into how the making practice fits into your wardrobe, handmade or ready to wear if you don't sew. Like there's so many aspects of sewing that go everywhere. So I wanted to fully encompass, where my head was with that. So yeah.
I think traditionally, when people were learning to sew at school, it was always getting a pattern, getting fresh fabric, and coming up with your project. Whereas
Yeah.
what you're describing is a variation where you don't have to have fresh fabric, you don't have to have a
Yeah.
whole lot of other things. Yeah.
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 Yeah, I agree. Like, I mean, I kept up, I stopped sewing for a little bit in like middle school. Then we moved to Texas, and then there was a home economics class, traditional, like teach cooking and fine dining and all that. And part of it
Yep.
was sewing. It was just focused on, like making a garment, making a quilt. I wish like I would have learned more skill sets, like how to
Mhm.
maintain my wardrobe. But I mean, I was also in eighth grade, so that probably didn't matter to me. But but as I look back now, that it would have been handy to learn those skills. But now as I'm older, like your weight fluctuates, the weather, changes.
Mhm.
It just so many different things happen to where a wardrobe just isn't linear. And so, I'm just learning that you have to change with it. You can't always just buy new clothes. It's just not practical. So how do you maintain your existing wardrobe? And I really wanted to focus on that.
And is that what you're focusing on in where we're going?
Yeah, I think so. It was very hard because last year I took a year off unintentionally, but I wasn't really doing much design. I was in the middle of healing from some stuff, and I didn't really know what direction I wanted to take my business, but I knew I was detached from what it was at the time. And
Yep.
so when I changed names, I was like, all right, well, I got the purpose, I got the branding, I got the name and everything. What are we doing now?
Yeah.
Like, then it was like another unintentional break while we figured out, like, do I even want to design patterns anymore? Do I want to focus on, wardrobe maintenance and optimization, things like that? And then recently, I kind of came back to love, the zero waste design that I do. I found my own voice in my design work. And, lately I've just been behind the scenes working on stuff. My Patreon supporters see some of it, that I'm working on behind the scenes. And I just have ideas that I'm finally bringing to life. And I feel more like the artist that I am.
Mm.
And that slow fashion, intentional wardrobe creation, you can put your own spin into a handmade wardrobe that lasts longer, designs that like take you further and aren't just like one trick ponies. Stuff like that is, what I'm kind of working towards for people. And then in my blog, I talk a lot about on Substack, which I am also on Substack. I forgot to mention that.
Thank you.
Same username. Also on Substack, I talk about, different things like that, maintaining your wardrobe and, alterations. I think now I'm more aligned with what I want to do.
That's really good. You know?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
agree.
Did you find so you took some time out and you had a go at thinking about where you are and what you wanted to be? Was it important for you in that during that period to have a Patreon group that was supporting you?
I went through such a imposter syndrome mode last year,
Yep.
and I was doing great, but somewhere and it was probably life stuff I was going through too, reflecting that I just didn't feel like I was doing like I didn't really like my own stuff. I'm like, I don't know why other people like it. Like,
Yeah.
and so my Patreon was great. I had so many supporters. I think too, like when you're in an artistic fashion, whether you're a designer, whether you paint, whether you do anything and you're selling it, you want like feedback. Like you want to know
Hmm.
what people think about it.
Yep.
And and I know now that when I wasn't really receiving feedback, it's because I was probably doing a great job. But like when I wasn't getting that immediate, like, oh my God, it's so great because social media teaches us like
It
that
does.
immediate gratification. Because I didn't see that. I was like, oh my gosh, people hate everything I do. People don't want to be on this Patreon. So I closed the Patreon.
Hmm.
And then this year, I went back to one of my posts and I saw it, and it was like, it's funny because I had a post on what I wanted my values to turn into a year ago, and I came back to that post literally the day of, like a year later, and it
Mhm.
was all my values aligned that I didn't like keep in mind previously. And one of them was putting my work and stuff on Patreon for people to be able to see. I had lost like half of the people because, they knew it was closed. So
Yeah.
I don't even know if they know it's back. But the other half, they talk and they give feedback, and I ask for it now, and I know how to engage with that community, and it's been great. And I realize it is something I need. Like it's very grounding to have a specific group backing me up. The monetary support helps me in my work because I don't use much. Most of my stuff is thrifted, and the money they give helps with that. It's nice having the community behind me that's like supporting just me. So yeah.
Okay. That's helped manage your mental health status and get you to where you are today.
A little bit. I mean, it's one thing business
Yep.
wise. Like, I remember when I first closed it, one of the patrons that came back and is supporting me still now, she
Yep.
said, "This is very disappointing." And I was like, "I didn't know you felt that way. I'm sorry." Like, but I closed it anyway. And
Yep.
then I came back, and she's been the one that's most vocal, and I just didn't realize people just really liked what I put out, and it's given me the boost to be more fluid in my creative process. Like it's okay to try new things. My work before, I focused on it being perfect and being pristine, and just everything like within the lines or whatever. And
Mhm.
I'm learning that, like, not everybody relates to that, and it's okay. I don't have to make the perfect pattern. Like I can play around, and people support that because at the end of the day, they know I'm playing around, so I can find something that's gonna be cool for them at the end of
Mhm.
the day. So that's been nice. Yeah.
And I think the other point that you made earlier was just because it's radio silence, like you don't get feedback, actually means that you're doing okay. It doesn't, you don't have
Yeah.
to expect a wow comment or a that's really great comment every time you post something.
Yeah, that's definitely been a big realization. Like, that's something I had to learn too with the rebrand. Like when my business was Fiber and Cloth Studio, I was focused on helping others and teaching others and what other people wanted. As a smaller business that was just, kind of figuring stuff out. It's like, oh, people like fabric, let me stock fabric. Oh, people like this, let me stock this. Whereas this rebrand is more about like, it's about me. It's my representation of me, and who likes it comes and joins. And if they don't, then I'm fine with that. It feels more representative of who I am at this point.
That's really great. That's good to hear.
Thank you.
So, Alexis, what's in store now? What's the future hold?
Well, the Patreon was one of my goals in that post.
Yep.
I said I wanted to put out stuff on Patreon, and my Patreon supporters decide what gets put onto the website for sale. The reason I did that is because I really love, and I've fallen back in love with zero waste design. It's very meditative for me. It's like creating a puzzle. You have to figure out how the pieces work
Yes.
together. I love that. I think it like feeds my ADHD mind in some way. So I love that aspect of it. But because of it, I think in shapes, and I have so many ideas and things I want to put out. Some of them are small, and some of them, can be self-drafted if you just take a measurement. Some of them will require me to grade it, and I just want to share it all. But I don't need to share it all on the website. So I am very focused on right now putting out content and work and pattern designs and everything, getting my Patreon supporters feedback and seeing what we can put onto the site, and getting my feet wet again in pattern design and trucking along and growing in that aspect of my work.
It sounds very collaborative between you and the people who support you.
That's what I wanted it to be. A lot of work goes into pattern design. For me, it's a lot less work than when I was doing conventional design, like like a regular pattern, but it's still a lot of work and I get tired of looking at the computer and everything. And I needed that direct support because just putting things out and you just don't know, like I have one design, I just looked at it the other day, like 780 people have bought it. I have another design, only 200 people bought it. I have
Mhm.
another design, only 30 people bought it in their lifespans that they've been online. Instead of me putting on my ducks in a row of one thing and hoping people like it, then like my Patreon community, it's like, let me put out like 8 things. What do y'all think about all of these? And we get to decide what's worthy and what's not, is my goal for it. So yeah.
And we can definitely find all of those patterns and references on your Instagram account.
Yes, but nothing is released yet. Like
Okay.
the first one comes out this Friday, June 6th. The thing that I've been putting together, the most recent one, it's my first one. I just finished a design for another top and a pinafore and a pair of pants. I have a whole bunch of stuff coming. I'm super excited. I've just been quiet in the background and I like tell them, I'm like, hey, I got stuff, guys. I promise. I'm just working on all of it. So yeah, I'm super excited for everything I have in store. It's just finishing it all.
This is really exciting because we'll be able to see all these right now.
Some of them.
Some of them.
Yeah.
So before we finish up, Alexis, for people like me who have never done zero waste patterns and just work from measurement, what advice would you give people like me who haven't delved in that area yet?
Find what works for you. Like there's no right or wrong way. And every zero waste designer is different. I would definitely say to familiarize yourself with measuring things with different measuring tools. I use like 8 different measuring tools, like for my own work, because I don't want to get something wrong. So I have my cutting mat has measurements. I have a measuring tape. I have 2 OmniGrid rulers. I have a yardstick. Become familiar with your own body because
Mhm.
then you'll know how things fit against it. Usually in zero waste, not everything is always tailored, like, specifically. I have a couple designs I'm working to try to change that. But being comfortable with your body, knowing your measurements, knowing how to measure is definitely a first start because if you're comfortable with measuring and you're familiar with math, that's probably the hardest part of everything.
Mhm.
Most people are afraid to get the measuring part wrong and they're going to cut everything wrong. I would say that. I would also say the second thing is if you're worried about measuring wrong, it's usually because you don't want to waste your fabric and cut it wrong. So
Yes.
I always tell people to get like a large piece of, no, there's not paper patterns in zero waste. Sometimes there are, but usually there's not. Then make your own paper pattern. Like get a large piece of paper,
Yep.
measure the measurements accordingly, and then cut them out, place them like a puzzle on the fabric. Because they're cut on paper, you can hold them against you, see how it's going to fit and everything, and kind of get an idea before you even waste what you may think is wasting fabric. So those are my top 2 tips that I tell people to think about a little bit.
Okay. Well, thank you for that. Now, as an
Yeah.
Australian, my follow-up question is it in inches as well as centimeters, or is it just all in inches?
Mine are. I have different cutting layouts and
Yeah.
because sometimes my testers are usually up across the pond. Like they're usually everywhere. So I don't just have American ones. Some of them are everywhere, the UK and everything. So
Great.
yeah, so I usually put all of my measurements in inches and centimeters for everything. I can't say that everyone does that, but I know me and I can think of like the 3 most popular ones, like kind of in the community, like the
Yep.
So-So, Brigida Helmerson, my friend Emily, who's like with Goldfinch Limited, or I think she changed it to Textile Studio, one of the two. But all of us, I believe, put it also into centimeters. So yeah.
Thank you so much, Alexis. I think that helps me a lot, and I always do
Yeah.
the conversion, but still, it helps a lot.
What I do in testing is like I try to get, there's so many measurements and I try to incorporate a lot of size inclusivity.
Mhm.
And so it can be tiring even just putting in the imperial measurements.
Yeah.
But I have a shareable document and I usually elicit everyone's help. I'm like, can you all help me convert all of these? Because
Yeah.
I get it. Like I want to make sure it's available for everyone. So, I definitely get it.
Alexis, thank you so much for all the work that you put into Where Are We Going with your patterns and for being on the podcast today.
Oh, thank you, Maria. I appreciate it.
That's okay. I'm glad we got to meet. It's wonderful.
It is. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you.
All right.
This episode of So Organised Style Podcast for Sober 50 was both video and audio produced by me, Maria Theoharis, in my sewing room, with permission of Alexis Bailey, sound by Kaneef on YouTube. Many thanks for the ongoing monthly support of the podcast Patreon contributors. Their membership enables me to create these video and audio podcasts for you for free. You can subscribe to So Organised Style Podcast, but with an S, not a Z, on all good podcast apps and on YouTube. And yes, if you live in Australia and you're interested in purchasing Mimiquin from the UK, I'll be your body scanner. Make sure you go back and listen to our free Sober 50 episodes on So Organised Style Podcast. Direct message Sandy and the editors at Sober 50 on Instagram to contribute to the ongoing posts and challenges the team promotes to the community. I look forward to joining you in your sewing room next time. Stay safe, everyone.